Hi all. I'm Skip Wickland. I've been president of the Civic Association this past year, and I just wanted to go over a couple things with you that we've done during the past year so you know that we are alive and kicking in the farms. We had a number of activities. One, we operated the swim club again through the summer. We had a 4th of July parade, and we're always fortunate that the police and the fire department come and join us in those celebrations. We had another Halloween parade, and the police force and the fire department showed up, and just as we were about to begin the parade, it started pouring. So we really didn't have our parade, but we had at the end of the walk an area where we had all kinds of candies for the kids. So they enjoyed that. During the fall, our board sat down with people from John Wesley here and talked about how we could do some joint ventures. And the reason for looking at that is that it's beginning to be more difficult to find people to assist with all kinds of things that we're doing. John Wesley, they want to reach out to the community because historically, John Wesley was one of the main churches in our area. We have several churches that all work together, the Lutheran Church, Presbyterian, Catholic Church, and John Wesley. So we were really fortunate with everything that they do. So we met with the people here at John Wesley, and we decided we'd try some projects. One of them was our Christmas party, because with the exception of COVID, we've been having a Christmas party here at the church. And it's really been a successful party as far as doing a lot for the kids, because we would fill the entire room here. Before COVID, we were having rides through the farms to see our Luminaire celebration. This year, we didn't have the rides. Part of that is it's getting more and more expensive to do all of these things. And so we had the party here, and it was very successful. And so that was a nice beginning for us doing events with John Wesley. Earlier in the fall, a group from John Wesley came over to the swim club, and they began helping us, not really helping us, they were doing concrete work. We have a number of places around the swimming pool pad that were giving us problems. The swim club's been here for over 50 years now, and we continue to repair it. The township has given us funding. Over the last 7 years, they gave us funding, and we did a number of things. Last year, or before last year, last summer, they gave us enough money that we fixed the pump house. So we got that all in order. And in a minute, Mary will talk about the swim club and what we're doing now. We also have put together a welcoming group with the people here at John Wesley, and they're going through the farms looking or talking with new residents that are moving in, which is something that we used to do years ago. I've lived in the farms for a long time, and I remember our street reps, I remember all the different things that we had and that we don't have today. Times are changing, and it's really hard to keep in contact with everybody. A lot of times with the doorbells and that, with the cameras on it, even if you go to somebody's house, you're not, nobody comes to the door. So, there's a lot of things that are different today in the way we have to adapt to operate. So if there's anybody here that would be interested in volunteering to work with us on projects or join our board, we're low on members of our board right now. We would love to have you come forward and meet with us. So at that, Mary?
Hi guys, my name is Mary Barrera. I have been on the Civic Association board for a couple years now, most recently as the pool manager, also filling in on community activities quite a bit. So as Skip mentioned, I'm going to give a little swim club update. Our pool is about 50 years old, so she's not young. And as Skip mentioned, the concrete and some of the areas around the pool are beginning to show their age a little more than we would like. So after kind of reviewing what we needed to do to open and to be successful this year, we made the decision that we were actually going to not open the swim club for the 23 this summer. It's a one-year pause. We have every intention of fully coming back in 24. We're going to use this summer to kind of refresh, fix, clean up, make the repairs that we need to do. To the baby pool started giving us trouble about halfway through last summer, and we know how important those are to so many of our, probably half our members have smaller children who really, really love those baby pools. So we're going to be using this summer to make the plumbing and infrastructure repairs to the baby pools, continue the concrete work that the men from John Wesley are doing, and make some cosmetic improvements to the bathrooms and the snack bar and some paint and gutters and just kind of the stuff that just needs updated. That's just really hard to get done in the winter when we're not open, or in the summer when we are open, with the time and resources that we have. So like I said, it is not we're closed and never coming back, because my children might kill me if we did that. My 9-year-old, she was not happy because she lived at the pool last year. So what we need, or what we could really use help with, is your help. It's obviously not something that can be done by one person. It's obviously something that we need more hands to do in a cost-effective manner. No skills required. We love if you have some skills, if you're, have some painting skills or some, woodworking skills, gutters, concrete, plumbing, whatever skills you bring to the party, great, we'll use them. But, even just, the teenagers coming to help trim landscaping and whatnot. Let's put those kids to work. So one of the things on the papers that you've got on your desk that you may have picked up is a QR code for the Swim Club Refresh of 23, as we're calling it, a volunteer form. So if you think you might be able to assist in any way, please, you just put your camera over that and that'll take you to the link, and I'll post them on the Facebook group and stuff as well, but that's an easy way to get to it. Sign up and help. Even if you only can come out 2 days over the summer, or once a week, or an hour, whatever, we'll take it. Because we want to get the pool back up and running and looking sharp. The plan being then that using the summer to shine her up, have some open houses, and invite the community in to see the pool. I think there's still a lot of people who live in this neighborhood that don't even realize we have a pool. So, we have the new residents of Enclave of Welch who all have memberships to the pool for next year. So I want to get them over to see it. And again, just make sure that everyone in the neighborhood knows that we exist. She's not a brand new pool, but the water is clean thanks to the grant we got from the township, got us all new pumps and filters and a computerized chlorinator thing. It's really cool. It makes really nice water. And that's really the most important part, along with the people that are there with you enjoying it. And those two things are great. And it's a great place for the teenagers in the neighborhood to get jobs. So use this summer also if you have a teenager, maybe get them lifeguard certified over the winter. If they're going to be 15, they can be a lifeguard. So that's a great opportunity for a great first job. They can ride their bike too. Join our Facebook group, which is the link on the bottom left of the page there, Pleasant Run Farm Civic Association Facebook group. And we also have a swim club business page. Just keep an eye on those. That's where we'll post a lot of the info about what's going on with the pool. But the filling out the volunteer form will be very helpful, so we can reach out and say, hey, we're going to have a group there on Saturday who are going to do this. Come help. And then, with that, I encourage everyone to join the Civic Association. We're not going to have the pool this year, so make sure that you still join the Civic Association. It's just $30 a household, and that money goes directly to helping us keep doing what we're doing, put on these free events for the community. We own like 60 acres of land in this neighborhood, around, in between, through. We have to at least do the minimum to maintain that and insure it and all this, that, and the other. So just a little bit of contribution from everyone in this neighborhood goes a long way to helping us do what we do and do even more. Another great reason to be a member of our Civic Association is it makes you eligible if you have a high school senior for our scholarship that Wendy Piccini is going to tell you about.
Thank you, Mary. A couple of years ago, we were approached by a lady named Tracy Grabowski. She grew up in Pleasant Run Farms and was a 1980-something graduate of Northwest High School. She wanted to give back to her community, and she started a foundation. And now she is able to offer, Pleasant Run Farms is able to offer a $2,500 a year scholarship that is renewable up to 4 years. All the requirements is that the student must be a resident of Pleasant Run Farms and a Civic Association member. They must be, for this year, a 2023 graduate, and they must be have made a commitment to higher learning. That doesn't mean college. That could also mean a trade school or another type of school. To access the application and instruction sheet, there is a QR code at the table. You can also go on the PRF website and access that, and direct all applications to Wendy Puccini or Bert Cameron. The date for this, they all must be received by April the 6th. So this is a great opportunity for some deserving student to get up to $10,000 toward their college education.
They don't have to go to Northwest. So
Nope.
someone asked me earlier, like, oh, my kid doesn't go to Northwest. Well, that's fine. I can go to a private school or whatever. They just have to live in the farms, and their family is a Civic Association member, which you can stay and apply tomorrow.
Yes. The next order of business that I'm going to talk about is the fun Easter egg hunt that is coming to John Wesley. We're partnering with John Wesley Church. And when is it? It is Saturday, April 1st, which is, believe it or not, this Saturday. It's from 11 to 12, and it is here at the church, and the cost is nothing. If you have any questions, you can call the church. It's been shared on the PRF website, and it should be a lot of fun. We always have a great time. So now I'm going to turn things over to Mark Upton from John Wesley Church, talking about the Saturday basketball program.
Hi, Mark Upton. I'm the chair of our church council at John Wesley Church, and bring greetings to each one of you from our church. A year ago, as we were retooling our mission and vision statement, it reads, reaching the individual, touching the community, and serving the world. So when we talk about reaching individuals and touching community, those two deal with this room, deal with our neighborhood. That's 2/3 of what we intend to do and how we intend to live our lives and to have outreach from our church to the community. There's nothing secret about it. We're not after, anybody can come to church once, twice, don't give a dime. We don't care. If you need a church, we're here for you. If you need a pastor, you're going in for surgery, we have a pastor and a team who can go and pray for you. But we're here to partner with the community and make it collectively a better place. We've met with the Civic Association many months ago and picked some kinds of things that they would like to see the church engage in. And one of those was, what's your most important pressing need? And that was the pool. So we had a good group of men and one woman. The youngest was age 65 and the oldest one was 86. Busted concrete in the end of the big pool toward where the snack shack is, because we found that that's all hollow underneath, so we know that that's going to fall apart, and we know that between the kiddie pool and whatever's next to it, that's all hollow too. So we committed ourselves to helping to repair that, and John Wesley Church is also going to fund $1,000 of those repairs, hoping that we can do as much as we can, person-wise, but this will help to keep the pool repair costs down. Plus, we're also going to help try to find good funding for this. We'll reach out to as many people, kinds of people and corporations as we can, and through our contacts to help with the pool effort. But the big thing that's about to happen is, I remember at our meeting, the number one thing that the Civic Association said that they would like to see us partner with is the use of our gym. Our gym is like 9 years old. It's a beautiful gym, great floor, very safe, 2 restrooms, 2 good working drinking fountains. It's got a food place, a big kitchen back there, but it's probably the most unused part of our building and has been. So we have been working with your Civic Association and within the church too, to come up with a program to have our gym open. Now it's not an open gym, but have our gym used by Civic Association members and their families, our church members, and the regular attendees of our church, plus our youth group, beginning the first Saturday in May, and for 4 Saturdays in May and 4 Saturdays in June, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock each of these days. And then we'll pause that program to reevaluate how has it gone, what do we need to do to make it better, what are the things that we did, our missteps along the way so that we don't repeat them, and have the program gear up again sometime in the fall. It's open to anybody in Pleasant Run Farms who's a member of the Civic Association of the Swim Club, which is a non-starter for this year. If you and your family are members of the Civic Association, feel free to come over here. The only caveat is that there has to be an adult in the family who brings the children and stays with the children for the 2 hours from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Because we need that adult supervision present in the building. We had an incident years ago on a Friday night. A bunch of kids came into a youth group kind of thing and ended up, kid had blood splattered on the side of the building. It was all ugly and stuff. So our church is a little leery about having an open gym again. But we've constructed this thing so carefully, and it's taken a couple months to do this, but we're ready to have it approved by our church council in like 2 weeks. I know it's going to be approved because we've been working on it together. So please come out and support this. There will be more information, I would think, in a newsletter or certainly on the Facebook page. But thank you very much. Welcome to our church. Nice to be here. Thank you.
And one of the other QR codes on your handy-dandy form is a gym support volunteer sign-up. So part of the partnership between the Civic Association and the church is that the church will have some adults on staff, and there will be some adults representing the Civic Association on staff, like doing the check-in table and just kind of watching things. So if you, think that you're going to, be at this event a lot, or would like to, that'd be a great thing for you to volunteer for, just to help kind of run the table, check people in, make sure they're Civic Association members. You can click the sign-in or the QR code for that on the form there too, and then we'll be in touch to get our team together for that. So.
Thank you, Barry. One of the things that the Civic Association does year after year is to work with the township on different things, and also with our school system being Northwest. And tonight we have Daryl Yater and his associates from Northwest High School, or Northwest System, going to talk to us about what they're planning for the next year. And then we're going to have Rick Bly, who is our police chief, talk to us about what's happening in the farms now, because things continue to evolve. So I'll give this to Daryl.
Thank you, appreciate it. I am Daryl Yater. I'm the superintendent for the district, and I have Amy Wells, our CFO treasurer. And we wanted to update everyone on the bond issue that is on the ballot in May, was on in November, did not pass in November, and is back in May. So we wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the district in terms of the financial stability and how we approach finances as a district, and to give you some updates on the details of where we are with our plan. So I'm going to let Amy start.
So good evening. Amy Wells, the treasurer, CFO of Northwest Local School District. As part of our strategic plan, we want to make sure we contain and maintain fiscal stability, and we want to make, as part of that, we want to inform our community on how we are funded and how we utilize those funds. So I wanted to tell you tonight that as a district, our board has a partnership with our community that says we will not increase our expenses from year to year more than 3% for our operations, and that we do carry a 60-day cash reserve similar to like a personal savings account. Most of our staff work 9 months of the year but earn their full wages before they go off for the summer, so we need to make sure that we have cash balance on hand to be able to pay those wages as well as any invoices that may come in. We also have downturns in the economy. We want to be able to have funds available if we need to utilize those funds, and so if state funding would decrease or any downturn in the economy would create hardship. And sometimes there's unfunded mandates that we might need to reach into that savings account to be able to fund things that the state puts on us. There's a mandate we have to do, but there is no funding for. In 2019, when we had our last operating levy, the community asked us to come back more often with smaller levies. So we do have a 5-year rolling levy cycle, but at this point, we do not expect a new operating levy until fiscal year 2028. It was projected and originally in fiscal year 2024, so we have been able to postpone that need. And we also align our budget to our instructional priorities, so each year we determine what our instructional goals are and we align our budgets to try to reach those goals. As part of a district, we look at benchmarks. So we look at benchmarks of school districts, and there's also handouts on your table, so you don't have to remember all this. You can take this with you, but school districts should spend at least 70% of their budget on instruction and no more than 10% on administration. Last year we spent 73% on instruction, so above the 70% minimum, and 7% on administration, so below that 10%. And when we talk about administrative costs, we're not just talking about central supports office, we're also talking about the offices within each of the buildings and departments, the office staff, and all office supplies. So it's anything to operate and administrate the operations of the district. We also set our budgets based on class size targets, on a staffing plan, and we have per pupil or per staff allocations depending on if it's building or department. We also do square feet allocations for things like utilities and custodial and maintenance. So all of the way our budget is designed is based on specific ratios and parameters. And then we wanted to make sure that our community understood how we are funded. Currently, the formula for the state is called the Fair School Funding Formula, which requires our local community to fund our district at 75%, while the state funds us at 25%. This, per Ohio law, funding public school districts is considered a local community's expense, and so they determine the capacity a local community can afford, and the state pays the difference on a basic education. Anything above basic, the state requires our local community to fund at 100%, and anything infrastructure-wise is considered local community expense and to be funded at 100%. Previous formulas, we were funded 60-40, 60% locally and 40% by the state. So the state continues to consider us a wealthy district, getting wealthier as the years pass. They look at property valuations and income tax returns to determine our local capacity to fund public education. And we also wanted to make sure our community understood how schools are funded locally. We have two options, either a property tax or an income tax are our two options for funding, and property taxes are flat when passed. So the levies that were passed in 1976, the district receives the same dollars today as we did in 1976. The levy in 2019 is the same dollars today as it was in 19. So the only way as a district we can generate more revenue is to come back to our community and ask for additional revenue, an additional levy. The other option besides a property tax is an income tax schools can do, and about a third of the schools in the state of Ohio do utilize income tax as a revenue source. There is a full income tax or an earned income tax. On a full income tax, it's just based on your 1040 W-2 wages, retirement income, interest income. But on an earned income tax, it's only on W-2 wages. So retirement income and interest income is not taxed. However, with an income tax, it's only on the residents of a school district. It's where you live, not where you work, and it's also not on commercial property or commercial owners. So, but those are options that our community could let us know if they wanted a different funding mechanism and a different option, then we would look to do that.
And I just want to let that sink in for a minute about the fact that the unfair funding formula that we had more than 2 years ago said that our community paid 60% of the cost of education. When they redid their formula, they magically said we were richer than we were before, and they changed the formula to say now our community must pay 75%, and they reduced their portion to 25%. They also at that time said, oh, that's expensive. So the last 2 years, they've only given us 33% of the 25%. We might, in this new funding, next 2 years, we might bump up to 50% of the 25%, but they expect the community to just jump in at the whole 75% right off the bat. So we are working with our legislators to advocate for actually fully funding the fair funding formula and to really advocate for our community from that perspective. In addition to that, we're also here to talk tonight about the fact we do have the bond issue on the ballot, so I wanted to address that. We did have a committee, a master facility plan committee, that looked at our facilities and put a plan in place, and we appreciate Skip and anyone else who was in this room that might have been on that committee with us. And that committee really kind of nailed down the priorities for the district. One of the priorities was making sure that all of our elementaries have a common experience, like PRE, and that our middle schools are addressed, and that down the road we'll address the high schools once we get consensus from our community around whether it should be one high school or two, which we don't have that answer. We will as we go farther down the road. So on the ballot in May is a bond issue that would address our elementaries and our middle schools. The change from November to now is that because interest rates have continued to rise, we had to reduce the scope of the project to continue to maintain a bond issue that was at 4.98. So we had to reduce that, and what we had to reduce off of that was preschool. Preschool is still in our long-range plan as a district. It's just deferred from phase 2. We will try to get preschool done between 2 and 3 or with 3. So phase 2 would rebuild Colerain Elementary, would renovate Montford Heights, and would replace our 3 middle schools with 2 new bigger schools. We just went through a redistricting process because PRE was way overcrowded and we had to alleviate that overcrowding. Currently our middle schools, all 3 are over 100% capacity. And so at White Oak we have the nurse's office in the locker room for the gym because we're out of space. And so we can't redistrict our way out of our problem with our middle schools. The only way to address our middle schools is to rebuild. And so that's what's on the ballot right now for phase 2. One of the things that people have asked is about why. Why now? There are a lot of reasons for that. One is the need. Our buildings are in dire need for repairs, and the state has assessed our buildings. All of our buildings except our 3 new ones and Montford Heights have been rated by the state at such condition they are not worth repairing. They are at a point where they need to be replaced. With that, we have the opportunity to maximize state dollars and minimize the impact on the community through a program with the state of Ohio. They've been working over the last 30-some years to rebuild schools through the state of Ohio, with the poorest district being the first district, and they paid 100% of replacing all those schools. They're working their way through the state of Ohio to the wealthiest district, where they will pay 0%. They're getting close to our name on that list. When we get to that point, the state will notify us, and we will be able to work in a partnership with the state in a co-funded project where for a construction project, they will pay their 25% and the community only has to pay the difference. That co-funded phase has not happened yet. That would be our last phase in phase 3. But up until that point, we have the ability to earn credits for future phases. When we built phase 1, we earned about $16 million in credits because of being in a program with the state of Ohio that we now have, and we have the ability to use when we get to the co-funded portion in phase 3. Phase 2 would allow us to earn about $40 million, rebuilding what I just talked about. That $40 million, in addition to the $16 million, will be cashed in when we get to phase 3. So when you get to phase 3, the community will reap the benefits of all of those credits, plus the co-funded portion that the state's going to pay, and then only pay the difference for that last phase, which would be the high school phase. So we have up until that time when our number is called and they say it's your turn for this co-funded phase to maximize all those dollars. And we don't want to leave any state dollars on the table that could benefit our community. The other piece to that is that we have dire needs in our district right now. We have $40 million of immediate needs that our buildings need right now. We don't have $40 million. We would have to come to you for a bond just to fix things. And we don't believe it is in good use of taxpayer dollars to ask for money to fix something that's not going to last. We don't want to throw good money after bad. So if we were to have a roof, say Colerain Elementary's roof doesn't hold up and we have to replace the roof, then the bond issue passes and we rebuild that school. The state will not give us any credits for that roof because the roof is too new. So the community would have to put a new roof on an old building, put a new roof on a new building, and pay 100% for each roof because we would not earn any credits on the new one. Or we build the new building, the state gives us a 25% credit on that roof, and our community at the end of the day pays 75%. So we are trying really hard to make sure that the plan that we've put in place with our community group maximizes all state dollars so that at the end of the day, we minimize the impact on the community. We have had some other people who have asked why 38 years? It seems long. As a personal person who, like, I bought my house and paid it off in 20 years, I can't believe you're going 38. Public utilities are different. A personal finance, when you pay off your house, you're still earning your paycheck, and now you're able to divert that money somewhere else. The bond issue is not like that. Once it's paid off, it's gone. We don't continue to get money from that bond. So shortening the term of the bond only puts an added increase on the current members of the community and not on the community who will use it down the road. So from a public utilities standpoint, a township or a governmental entity or a school, you spread that out over the life of the building so that everybody pays a little while they're using it during that life of the building versus a lot of people or a small group of people paying a lot so the other people don't have to pay anything. So that's why it's spread out the way it is. And it's also that our buildings are used differently than a house. In a residence, you have about one person for every 500 square feet. Our buildings have about one person for every 100 square feet. So when you take that amount of wear and tear, and you think about the number of times our toilet in Pleasant Run Elementary gets flushed on a day versus what happens in someone's house, the wear and tear on a public building is much different. And so that's why the buildings are in the condition that they're in and the need that we have right now. And that's why the plan is structured in such a way to maximize all the available dollars from the state so that we can minimize that impact long-term on the community. So I know it's a lot. That's why we went old school with handouts and not a QR code. You guys showed us up with your technology. But we appreciate the ability to be here and to explain our story. We appreciate the partnership that we always have with this group, and we appreciate you. So if there's anything that you have for questions, we would be happy to talk anytime. We just want to make sure that you had the ability to kind of hear our story, have the handouts so that you could reference these, because it's a lot of information we just went over. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gerald. Now let's turn to safety here in the neighborhood. And Rick and his associate will come up and they'll chat with us for a few minutes about what's happening.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'll try to be as loud as I possibly can. My name is Rick Bly. I'm with Springfield Township Police Department. I've been here for 27 years. My whole career is as a police officer. For 9 years I served as the assistant chief, and then for the last 2 years I've served as the chief of police. So I'm still a little bit new to the position of police chief, but plenty of experience through the department and really trying to work with the communities in Springfield Township. One of the things, just real quick, I know that through my experience is that in Springfield Township it's pretty difficult to really communicate with all of the communities and all the neighborhoods because everybody identifies themselves as the neighborhood that they live in. We don't live in Colerain Township where a lot of people say I live in Colerain Township or Delhi Township or something like that. In Springfield Township it's a neighborhood. I live in Pleasant Run Farms. I live in Finneytown. I live in Skyline Acres. I live in Lexington Heights. So that's one of the challenges that I think we have as a police department is to be able to communicate. So I appreciate you guys inviting us here tonight, and this is a really good turnout. For when we have community meetings, sometimes we get 3 or 4 people from the community. So having civic-minded people really come in and hear some of the message, we appreciate that and having us up here. What I usually like to do is really before I'll give you updates on what's going on and what we're kind of doing, but I really like to have questions from you guys as we're talking because I want to make sure I'm hitting on the concerns and hitting on the questions that you have for safety. Pleasant Run Farms has been an evolving neighborhood since I've been with the police department. It's faced its challenges. It's kind of hot and cold with different things. I know recently there have been some critical incidents, I think in the past probably 12 months to maybe 24 months, where there has been a lot of concerns, and there's been some drug activity, some gunfire, some shootings that have taken place up in the community, and I can assure you that that is something that we're aware of. We've got a lot of resources that we can go about attacking those things and looking at those crime trends to make sure that those things stay isolated and they don't become routine. So I know that that's probably some of the questions you got. I will say we're coming upon that time of the year when it starts to get warmer. People are leaving their windows open. People leave their car windows down, cars unlocked. This is a huge time of the year where we get a lot of property crime. We start to see all the sheds that got broken into over the winter, because now we're going into our sheds and we're getting our lawnmowers out and they're not there, or our power tools, and people's sheds are getting broken into. So look at those things. Pay attention when you have your windows open at night. Burglaries will start to happen at this time, and not necessarily that they're going in the house, but when they see easy access into a kitchen or something like that and they see stuff laying out, they can lift the window screen up, be able to get into there. Vehicle break-ins are always a huge thing. That's something that we deal with constantly at the police department, and it's really just communicating to all of our neighborhoods and saying, hey, just be aware, know what you're doing, don't leave anything visible in your cars, make sure they're locked. Please don't leave your keys in your car, don't leave your firearms in your car. Those are just easy things, and you think it's common sense stuff, but we're in such a busy world where we're rushing, we forget those things, and all of a sudden we become a victim of a crime. So those are kind of some of the basic things. I will say in the last couple years, one of the biggest concerns and one of the complaints that we've gotten at the police department, and I think it's been COVID, has been traffic safety. I think everybody would kind of agree, especially living in a neighborhood, we get calls all the time about people running stop signs, people speeding through the neighborhood, what can we do about it? We've taken a lot of different strategies and a lot of approaches on how we're going to be able to do that. We're limited to our resources. Our police department has 49 operational spots of full-time police officers in it. We've got almost 20 square miles and about 12 different neighborhoods that we got to patrol. And really one of the cool things about Springfield Township in the law enforcement side is that those communities all have a different need. So a different style of policing, and that's a challenge for us, but that's also exciting for us because we get to be a little diverse and we get to have different styles of our strategies on how we're going to combat things. Pleasant Run Farms is no different. I mean, it goes, depending on what's going on in the farms, is depending on what the strategy we're going to use at that time to be able to combat the stuff that you're going through. Just to hit on the traffic real quick. Let us know what you're seeing out there. We try really hard to get into our neighborhoods. We try really hard to do a lot of traffic enforcement. I will say that it's not a revenue maker for Springfield Township or Springfield Township Police Department to write tickets. We love to use our traffic enforcement as kind of traffic safety, as being able to go out into those neighborhoods, make the traffic stops, have good contact, good positive contact the best we can. Nobody's happy to get pulled over, but we try to use it as more of an educational tool to that community, because the people that are complaining about speeding and running the stop signs are usually the residents that live in that community. So we understand that. That's part of our strategy, is to go out there. We know we're not going to ticket our way out of these problems, but being visible, educating the community on what those traffic laws are, what the concerns are of the rest of the residents in that neighborhood is one of our primary goals. So when you call us and say, hey, Chief, we got everybody speeding up and down Elkwood, and it's nonstop all times of day, we're going to have our dispatch kind of ask a couple questions. What are the main hours you're seeing a lot of it? Where's that at? Because what we do is in our in-house system, we'll file that complaint, and we always try to keep track of that. So technology is great. All of our cruisers have computers now, so when they get into their car on each shift, depending on what beat that they're in, and we have 4 different beats throughout Springfield Township, and they're big, they can look and see, hey, here's some of our extra patrols, here's some of our traffic complaints, here's my downtime outside of chasing the radio runs. I'm going to try to get to these spots and make sure I give it a little bit of extra attention. On top of that, we also have what we call an impact unit, which is kind of our directed patrol unit. So we know our radio runs are going to stay busy with the officers that are assigned. Sometimes we only have 5 to 6 police officers on to cover the entire township. So we also have a directed patrol unit that we use, and we kind of let them say, hey, if we've got some issues here, we'll direct them to that so they can actually hit those patrols and hit those complaint areas, and we can keep track of those complaint areas. Traffic safety has been a big issue. So 2 years ago, we applied with the Ohio Department of Transportation, or Public Safety, for a grant. We received that. It's about $54,000. We can pay some overtime to our officers. That's all they're strictly assigned to do is just traffic complaints when they come in and work a couple hours of overtime. So they don't have to chase the radio run. They're just focused on those traffic concerns. I know that there's probably a lot of questions on what the township can do to kind of better the roads and do some of those things, and I'm more than happy to answer those questions. But really, Pleasant Run Farms is no different than some of our other communities as far as the ebbs and flows of crime trends. You know, it's nothing crazy, but when you have it, it's there, and you want it to be addressed right away. So, like I said, those are the main things that we're hitting on. I know if you've got any questions or you got some concerns on, we have a house here that's kind of on our radar, a lot of traffic going in and out of it. I think Sergeant Greer, I think we had 1 or 2 houses in the last year and a half that were kind of targeted as some people in there that where we did have some shots fired at the residents. And I think really the message that we want to say is that was targeted. It wasn't just a random act. It was somebody that was targeted in that house, somebody that's definitely on our radar. One of the cool things about Springfield Township is we're the administrating agency of a grant for the Drug Abuse Reduction Task Force. So we kind of control, we're centrally located, so we kind of control that grant and that task force where we have supervisors and agents or officers from all over the county are assigned to that task force, and we kind of operate that out of Springfield Township. So that we got that resource in our back pocket to make sure that we stay on top of, all right, why did that crime happen here? What's the intelligence behind that? What's the history of what's going on with that person or with that residence? And trying to find that nexus to the crime trend of what's happening there. So we really try to stay on top of it. A lot of it, we don't really like to talk about it, and a lot of these things sometimes take a lot of time to investigate. So, I mean, I know if you have the patience on that or you see that's going on, the information that we get from you, though, is vital. Don't ever hesitate to think you can't call Springfield Township or you're bugging us, whether it's about traffic complaints or whether it's about drug complaints or just some suspicious activity going on in the neighborhood. So we have a non-emergency number that operates where we have clerks there from 8 in the morning till 8 p.m. at night. That's 729-1300. And then after that, you can still call that, but then you kind of get an answering machine, and you can still talk to an officer, but you got to listen to all the options, and they'll send you to the Hamilton County Communications Center, which is our 911 center for any emergency, and that they can relay a message to give you a call back after 8 p.m. at night. So I know that's a lot of information. Is there anything in here anybody in here that really had something that they wanted to ask a question on, hey, this is some concerns on the safety of what's going on in Pleasant Run Farms and what maybe with some of the strategies that we're doing?
I have a comment.
Okay.
As a longtime resident, I probably speak for some others, and that saying sometimes in Pleasant Run Farms we kind of feel like we're forgotten about. We're kind of by ourselves and separate from some of the other neighborhoods, and I would just say, don't forget about us. We love to see you all out in our neighborhood and being visible. And I've used the non-emergency number lots of times over the years for little things, and the police department's very responsive on that kind of those non-emergency things. But just remember, we're here, and we like to see you all, and know that you're keeping us safe, and we appreciate it.
No, I appreciate that because it is, we have to remind ourselves, we need to have those checks and balances. Pleasant Run Farms is our neighborhood furthest north of our township. So, I can understand that because a lot of times when things get that hustle and bustle, and we only have 5 cruisers on, and we have a critical incident that happens. If we have a robbery at Winton and Galbraith, 5 or 6 hours might be tied up on a robbery. If we have a shooting in Skyline Acres over near Coleraine, our officers might be tied up there. So we rely on mutual aid then in the county. That's one of the neat things about Hamilton County is we've got almost 40 different jurisdictions of police officers. So we've got a lot of jurisdictions, and we all have mutual aid contracts. So sometimes to respond to that, yes. But that's one of our challenges, and I think that's what I said is that I think is unique to us, and as a staff, we talk about that, being very proactive, not just saying waiting for that call. We already know what the calls. We've been doing this for a long time. We already know what these calls are going to be. We already know what's going to happen in the spring. We already know when these things are going to happen. So I appreciate that, and I think, I assure you that those are things we talk about, and we'll keep motivating our guys and our officers to make sure that we're giving you the attention that you deserve. So.
I think too, if you're a new resident or in the new part of the neighborhood, like I think we all watch out for each other, and we really care about our neighborhood, and we care about each other, and we take care of each other here. So.
Well, and that's the partnership that we need. I mean, like I said, you think we do have a pretty big police department, but when there's only 5 officers on, the only way we're going to survive is the information we get from you and you telling us what is that style of policing you need right now. And that's what we have to do. That's our responsibility, to listen to the information we're getting from the community and saying, this is the style of policing that we need, and this is the style of policing that we expect. So we listen to you. I mean, I always tell every community group I talk to, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Keep calling us, keep calling us, keep calling us. When you have those issues, you're not bugging us. You might hear somebody say, oh, well, they're calling again. That's okay. That's what we're here for, and we've got to make sure we're solving those problems. So I appreciate that, saying that. Go ahead.
So I have a question. This kind of maybe bounces between you and the Civic Association. So my house butts up to the back of the Clifford George Park, and they have that parking lot that runs right in the back. There's a lot of vehicles that sometimes are parked there, either very late at night, sometimes overnight, consistently the same vehicles over and over again. I don't necessarily want to be calling you guys every single time that I'm noticing the same vehicles. Sometimes it might be a person or multiple people in the vehicle that are in the vehicle. I don't know if they're staying there overnight, because when I wake up in the morning, they're still in the vehicle, and then they're getting and leaving at like 7:30 in the
Yes, you are correct. They were spending the night there. And it was like, I think we had some people go up there and say, this is not a campground.
Because they can see right into the houses that are right there on the edge and things like that. I know that's not utilized other than baseball season or if there's a special event. I don't necessarily mind when, it's the springtime and people out playing in the fields and want to park there, but I just didn't know if
That's one of those things that definitely was on our extra watch on our computers for our guys.
Yes.
That was an area of the parking lot that even when we pass through on our routine patrols, it's just something that, because it's kind of up that side, it doesn't always catch our eye and attention. If there's a car parked there, sometimes we think, it's just a neighbor that's parking a car there, or, one of the residents doing that. But you're right. There were people sleeping in the cars up there, and almost, I think we had to tell them, this isn't a campground. You can't do that. So.
Sometimes see the same car parked and then cars coming and then they leave later. And,
All I can ask you to do
want
is
us to call
yes.
every time we see something like
Yes,
that? Okay.
absolutely. And if the more information you get, the color of the car, the type of car, the license plate is great. Don't feel like you're being too nosy, and don't feel like you're bugging us, because even if we don't get up here and we can't find them, now we've got the information and we can try to track them down and make sure we're making contact with them to say, hey, we know where you are. And that's, again, I think that's part of what we really need with these communities, and you guys have been always great with that, is making sure that the one comment that I always hear when I go to community meetings is just kind of what you just said, is like, I don't want to bug you guys over something so dumb. Something so dumb could have been what the shooting was involved, a couple months ago at a house, because that's where they stopped first. So don't ever think it's dumb. Don't ever think it's stupid. Even if you don't feel comfortable calling right away, mark down as much information you can. If you don't feel comfortable calling, you can get on the web page. There's some crime tip things that you can just go ahead and submit it. At least we have the information and the intelligence now. So when we try to be proactive, we've got that information to go forward. So yeah, again, don't ever hesitate to call. Yeah. Any other topics that you guys kind of, maybe that was on your mind that I didn't hit on? I can talk up here all day about our police department. I love our police department. We are fully functional, operational police department. We don't contract with the sheriff's department. We have an investigative unit. I talked about the impact unit. We have school resource officers. We have traffic safety officers that are trained in reconstructionists for our traffic safety, that we have that. We have K-9 officers. The list can go on and on. And I think really what we're going through right now, just to give a quick update and just to let you know as a community, because traffic has been such a big concern with a lot of our neighborhoods, in April, we're going to have, I think on the 18th, and I'll make sure I get to Skip and to the association, we're going to have a community meeting focused on just our operations of our patrol functions, specifically with traffic safety, just to kind of go into more depth on how we actually attack the traffic concerns in the community, how we investigate it, and what the community can do for us. And then in May, we're going to have another community meeting because we got a lot of new technology that we've been able to be a part of moving forward through grants and different funding. We've never had body cameras in Springfield Township. And in this year, we're going to start having body cameras. And that's a whole conversation I think we want to have in May, is talk about what that means to the community, what that means to the officers that are going to have the body cameras, how that's going to affect our job, how it's going to affect the community's response to us. We've got all kinds of different types of technology that we're going to use to kind of limit some of the liability in our pursuits. Because vehicle pursuits are very dangerous, but we still have an obligation to make sure that we're attempting to fight crime and stop criminals, even at the lowest level of property crimes. But there's some new technology that we're going to be putting out there a little bit, and we want the community to be aware of, that we're staying up on the times with that stuff. So in May, we're going to have that community, and we hope to keep those meetings about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the participation of the residents and the questions that they have. Yes, sir.
On traffic safety, I know people are in your stop signs like crazy, but no parking sign. I've noticed people like to park on the wrong side of the street. That's the fire lane. And we actually noticed today, over the last couple of weeks, there's a lot less no parking signs than there used to be. I know some used to be on the telephone poles. They seem to be gone. We have one on our tree lawn, and we looked up all around the bend, and we didn't see another one. So, and same with that parking lot. I don't know if it's posted. No parking after hours. So at least if we get the word out there. I mean, I've had people park right under the no parking sign, so I know they're going to ignore it. At least if you have them there, it's a start.
Yeah, just let us know. Give us a call. I mean, we can start the process of where you think. Signage is easy for us to put up. It's a double-edged sword. Some people like the signage in their neighborhoods. Some people don't like the signs in their front yard. So, I mean, we kind of work with the community and say, hey, if you want more signage, I think we could do that. That's an easy solution for us to help. But again, a lot of times we take some of those complaints by the complaints of the neighbors. You know, when I say proactive, we don't want to be that police department that's, you know, if you've got something that you're moving in and out of your house and you're parking your car there, we get it. You know, that sometimes you need it. If somebody's doing it consistently every single day, they're parking on the wrong side of the street, they're parking in front of the fire hydrant, they're parking, you know, in the wrong direction. Sometimes that bugs people, and we understand that. And again, we try to have that relationship of, we're not going to go up there and just automatically ticket. We try to be that mediator, try to educate, hey, this is what we're trying to do, because we're trying to really keep the community as safe as we can and as aesthetically pleasing to everybody too, because that has a lot to do with it. So junk cars, stuff like that, those are things that we appreciate, that information that comes in. I wish we weren't busy where we could start being proactive on a lot of that stuff. We try to get our directed patrol units to do that stuff, but we really rely on the community to give us that information, and then we definitely will respond, and we've got processes to make sure that we do it the right way. Yes, sir.
So you might have taken that into the factory enforcement technology comment, but do you have or are you considering clock cameras?
Yeah, so yeah, we are. We're going to be getting those probably in the next couple months. That's a double-edged sword, I think, sometimes when we talk about that in the community, because I think some people really don't like that Big Brother system. You know, they kind of get a little worried about, oh man, there's cameras up and they're following every motion or everywhere we're going. On the crime end of it, it's huge for us. You know, I might drive past one of those license plate cameras 1,000 times and nobody's ever going to know unless I do something wrong and somebody gets my license plate. So stolen vehicles, and again, I think that was the technology that I was referring to earlier, was we know when we get the flock cameras and we get those licenses, we're going to get a lot of people that are wanted. We're going to get a lot of people that are driving stolen vehicles. And in today's day and age, criminals don't want to stop anymore because they know most policies with police departments is you're not going to chase us because it's too dangerous over a property crime. So we have increased dramatically the amount of what we say failure to comply, failure to stop. As soon as we turn the lights on, people just take off. So we're trying to combat that. We're trying to come up with strategies on like, hey, we have an obligation to give it an attempt to try to prevent this from happening, or make sure that we have the resources that with stop sticks and with tracking devices and with cameras that we can locate these individuals and not have the danger of that pursuit. Because everybody in the world, if your car gets stolen and I try to stop it and they take off, and we don't do anything about it, you individually are going to be like, you didn't do anything. You're the police. You're supposed to get my vehicle back, and you just let the bad guys go. Officer's life, and then your stolen car, we chase them, and it ends up killing your neighbor because they run through a red light. So it's a total balancing act. But again, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we keep up with the strategies and in the technology that is out there to make sure that we can still try to combat that. We can't just let the criminals win. That's not going to work. We're going to be a lawless society if we do that. But we have to do it as safe as we possibly can. And I think that's what that meeting, that community meeting in May, is just to kind of really inform the citizens that we're staying on top of it and we're trying to come up with those strategies that we're still going to be able to fight crime the way it needs to be fought, but keeping everybody safe as possible. So it's not just the officers' lives that we're worried about. I mean, it's, when we hear a vehicle pursuit, we cringe and we cross our fingers, please somehow end without anybody getting hurt, because that's the biggest thing. And so we do a lot of training on that. I talked about the police department. We have a lot of instructors in our police department over the years that we do a lot of in-house training. So our in-service trainings are very proactive as far as in the field, not just sitting in front of a TV or a monitor. We practice the stuff we do using our stop sticks and kind of some maneuverability with our vehicles, and we try to get out in the field and have some practical exercises that prepare us for that. One of the biggest technologies that we bought last year was a virtual reality simulator. People like to call them use of force simulators, but you can use it for all kinds of things. So it's really fascinating technology where our officers now, on a daily basis, we can put thousands and thousands of scenarios. They put the helmets on and they've got all their gear on, and you're in an open room, but it looks like you're actually in this scenario, whether you're just dealing with a simple traffic stop, a domestic situation, an active shooter situation. It can vary, and it doesn't always have to end in using force. So that's the nice thing about these virtual reality training, is that the officers don't know what that scenario is going to be. It could end in force, or it could just say, hey, you got to use your de-escalation techniques of talking and your body language to be able to de-escalate that. So a lot of stuff going on with technology, and we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to present that to the community and to the residents, so they know, hey, we're not just sitting on our hands down there and forgetting about Pleasant Run Farms all the way up north. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You have a suggestion on how to keep unwanted kids out of my backyard besides a fence because of my HOA situation right now? Because the way I'm going to go about it is not the right way.
Yeah. Keep them out of your yard?
Yes.
I do want to, but I think that what might have happened is going to stop things. That it used to be a school, so now people were used to, like, I think the kids were used to playing in the school, and we're no longer a school. If they play, we live here now, and they still play and run a drink.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to take the question.
Okay, so since it used to be a school, I think that the kids, so they come to in our neighborhood.
And use it as a cut through?
But they still use it as a cut through when they jump on our trampolines, they use it to jump off.
And if they get hurt, then what? Because I'm not paying for it.
No, I understand. No, I mean, I think that the best thing is to do is, do you know who they are? I mean, are they so they're just coming from, okay. I mean, definitely call us right away so we can try to get up there and identify who's doing it.
I have all those videos I can send you.
Yeah, I know.
The one thing we want to do is get with the kids and find out where they live. And we go over and address the parents saying, hey, we don't want this person's stuff to get torn up or anything like that. Can we have them stop?
Okay. Yeah, I have like an email that I can email them to you or something.
Yeah.
Any other topics? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to you guys. The Springfield Township Police Department has been instrumental in working with us as a civic association over the years, and we've reached out to you guys for concerns. And I mean, they've met with us, they've increased patrols and things like that for the neighborhood. So don't think that they're just totally MIA because they haven't.
I wish we had enough officers really to be almost assigned, one officer to every neighborhood we have. we're just not there. We're not there, but we've done a really good job of trying to keep people motivated, and policing is a proactive.
Do you have a new recruit class?
Wow, okay, so just to let you know, I told you before, we have 49 operational spots of full-time police officers. Probably within the last 18 to 24 months, we've had 14 new police officers. Recruiting in law enforcement has become a huge challenge. I would just give you an example. When I started 27 years ago, I took a test for Springfield Township for 2 openings, and there was over 200 people that took the test. We don't even give a test anymore. We just ask for applications. We just put an ad out, and we had 7 applications come in. People just don't want to be in law enforcement. So really the challenge that we're having in Hamilton County and the region is we're stealing each other's law enforcement officers because they all think the grass is greener on the other side. I'm going to go try this agency out. And that's what we're trying to do. We're competing against each other to say, hey, here's the benefits we have, here's the culture we have, here's the community support that we have. I mean, we've had great community support in Springfield Township as long as I've been here. And that's important to police officers now, is that they're going to get that support. I talked briefly about body cameras. One of the things years ago when we looked at getting body cameras, they kept telling us is that it's going to reduce your uses of force and it's going to reduce your citizen complaints on officers. And I'm like, well, we only get about 3 citizen complaints a year. I said, so if I'm going to spend $250,000 on this technology to reduce 3 complaints that I think we can handle, it seemed unbeneficial. But we're at a point now where, you know, the older school officers didn't like those body cameras because they really felt like it was going to affect the way they were able to communicate with people. This younger generation, and in policing the styles that we do now, everywhere you go, you're videotaped. It doesn't matter if you have it. So they feel a lot safer now, like, hey, just to protect themselves. And to be honest with you, it's starting to get to the point where you almost need it for prosecution. The community and the public doesn't trust the police like they used to trust the police. I'll give you the perfect example is when we do OVI arrests. When we do OVI arrests, if we don't have a body cam of that OVI arrest, it goes through all types of motions and hearings because nobody trusts what we're saying and what we observed. If it's on that body camera, though, we don't go through the motions and the hearings and everything. They usually just plea out because they can see the behavior, they can see the communication that's taking place. So a little frustrating in our career that we say, oh, we're losing that kind of, I don't want to say trust and respect, but those national incidents that have happened in law enforcement, that's what's done that to our career. You know, that's done that to our profession, and we've got to adapt and make sure that we use those as training guides and make sure our officers are aware that that's not us. That, you know, we're not going to put ourselves in those situations and we're not going to behave that way. So, yeah, the recruiting is very difficult right now. We have different state academies, Butler Tech, Scarlet Oaks, they have their academies. Right now, I think Scarlet Oaks has an academy going with maybe 9 people in it. And Butler Tech has maybe a little more on theirs. So really trying to recruit, and we've had a couple people, I mean, you know, like I said, we've had 14 spots, 12 to 14 spots turn over, and it was just that. Older officers were just like, as soon as they were able to get to their retirement date, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this anymore. Some people just changed their careers altogether. It's just a tough time. But the nice thing is about Springfield Township is we do. You know, the support that we've received over all of this stuff that's been going on with policing in our profession, our officers see it. It's what I like to say, it's the silent majority. The people, the thank you notes that we get, the emails that we get, the donuts that people send us. It's fantastic, and it's really cool. And we use that in part of our recruiting strategies. Is that, yeah, we have different neighborhoods and different, you know, in community needs, but for the most part, they're all very supportive of us. They want us to provide that service, and we want to do the same thing. So we're able to recruit, and I think we're able. You know, we're not the richest police department. We're not the richest community. But we're able to compete with the Indian Hills and the city of Montgomery and the Blue Ashes to recruit people in there because we've got a great community that supports us and we've got a good culture in our police department. So recruiting is a challenge, and we're going to continue to work on that. So I appreciate that, and thank you for the comments on that. It is we can't be everywhere all the time as much as we wish we were. We talk about those LPR cameras and the license plate. That's going to be significant to us because we are going to be able to kind of monitor traffic flows a little better and some strategies for combating crime and criminal activity that happens. So those things are very important, I think, to us. Anything else? Okay, I don't think Mike Gould's made it, so I don't know, I can do my, you're gonna fill in? Okay, I can do my best to kind of help answer any questions there, so.
Thank you, Rick. Just want to comment that, over the years that I've been here in the farms, that's a lot of years, I really have a safe feeling with our police department. And when I see them out with the children at the parades and different events that we have going on, it really helps to give the kids trust in the police with everything they hear on TV today. We need that. So we're real happy with you. Thank you. Mike Gould is supposed to be here tonight, and he has a health emergency in his family, and we've gotten a text from him. Mike is the director of roads and parks and the cemeteries that the township owns. And we've been working with Mike really for a number of years now to get additional road development here in the farms, renovation. And we thought we had it a year ago for all of the F streets, the remainder of Forester, Fallbrook, Freestone, all of the F streets. But we got a grant this year, and hopefully I'm not speaking out of school here, but this is what he had told me before. We got a grant from the state. The cost of repairing these roads is about $3.5 million, and which is a chunk of money. The township, I believe, what they've told me, they've got about $1,200,000 to spend on all 90-some roads that they have. So we're in a lot of competition to get our roads repaired. And we've got some really bad streets. Elkwood, when you come down from Deerhorn, headed to John Gray, it's got a number of areas with some significant sized potholes. And they fill them, but we get them back. I live on Fallbrook, and Fallbrook is like a washboard when you go over the hill. It's really bad news, and our curbs are coming apart. And it's really the curbs that I think are bringing most of the expense, because they have to dig everything out. It's not that they're just going to put another layer of asphalt on. So Mike had told me that they will let the contract for the project this coming summer, and that the actual construction will be sometime in 2024. But it is moving, and as far as we've been told, everything is finalized now. And any questions on them? Yes.
I would imagine so. I mean, the fact that it's lower than the curb still implies that there's a coat needs to be put on there. That would be probably still with the developer, though, in their final, I would think, because it's lower than the curb, but. Joy. We'll ask Mike.
So you guys should probably, I would probably send it, like Mary's saying, send an email. I used to work for a developer and a builder. So I know with that final, with the final coat, it's usually on the developer to handle that, not the municipality. I would, you know what you probably should do? Y'all don't shoot me here, but you should probably send an email to a representative from the township and the developer in one email and voice your concerns there. And I'd probably take a couple pictures and just send the email. What did she say?
I couldn't hear her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So we're going to ask, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I think a lot of the roads have been done on this side of the farms. Like, I live on the other side of the farms. Like, those roads are a mess. So is there any plan for like Hazelhurst and those roads
They discussed Hazelhurst and some of the other roads repeatedly. They decided on doing the F streets because they were in worse condition. But they definitely know that there are problems over there.
And we talk with Mike regularly, kind of like Lee said, squeaky wheel gets the grease, so we make sure that we stay good and squeaky. There's not enough money around to do all the streets that need done, so when there is a pile of money, so to speak, we continue to remind them that we want at least our fair share of it. There's like 90 miles of roads, I think, in the township, so it is a big undertaking. But I think at one point we looked at the percentage of roads and the percentage of roads that have been redone, and we had a pretty, as bad as it was still a higher percentage of our roads had been done in the past decade than many other communities. It doesn't look like it, it doesn't feel like it, but we keep on it, and they continue to apply for any kind of state government, whatever kind of funding they can get. And if there's a need for temporary repairs, like a major pothole and stuff, by all means, let us know, let the township know. It's a really tricky, weird, convoluted system of if they make too many small repairs, then a street can get removed from the big repair list. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword sometimes, that if they go through and patch it too much, then we won't get the big repair. So sometimes it just has to get extra crappy to get the big repair that it ultimately needs, which I know sucks when you live on that street. But Mike he's a regular. He comes to our board meetings from time to time and constant email chatter with our group and him.
And we've talked with them about these repairs because he had told us a year ago, or maybe a little more, they were getting new machinery so that they could come through and take out, I think it was a 6-foot section and resurface. And we said, well, what about Elkwood? Because Elkwood has some really bad areas in it. And they were afraid that if they did it, that we wouldn't get the grant to do the streets. So just what Mary's saying, it's kind of a game that you've got to play with it to get the funding. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I live at Cedar Creek, and they did our street several years ago because we had so many people sign a petition, and then we're now being assessed on our taxes for that.
Right. And from what I've been told, any streets that they do in the future, as of I guess 2 years ago or whatever, when yours was done, everybody will be assessed a certain amount, and I'm just guessing. I think it was around. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, but they have to vote.
Monica's saying she thinks there may be a vote, but
F streets will still be done. They're still going to get charged. But the township has a roadmap. They've gone out and basically driven every road and done a rating on them. So, if you wanted to see what Hazelhurst was rated, if it's fair or whatever, you can contact the township and they'll provide that with you. I believe that's correct, right? So, if it's still fair but not to the poor part yet, then you can go ahead and have it resurfaced. They won't do if you can get 50% of the people on that street to agree, 50% plus one person, so to do that. But otherwise, you have to wait until it gets so bad that you now become poor and get through the SCIP grant before you'll have it done. Yes?
So the ones, like I live on that street.
Yes.
And if they resurface it, they're gonna assess us?
I believe so, but
What is it, Cedar Creek? Is that what you're saying?
I believe so, yes.
I believe they had said that any anytime they redid the roads going forward from that, around the time they did Cedar Creek, anyone in the township, if that would be part of it.
So none of our property tax goes toward it, is that what you're saying?
Oh, I'm sure lots of property tax goes towards it, but it's,
There is an additional.
well, yeah.
I'm not an expert at this, but I can kind of give a little bit of an explanation of what they did. So in order for them to be able to fund those roads, they weren't able years ago to be able to pass the roads levy to get the funding that they needed. So what they decided to do, they came up with this assessment plan, and hopefully I'm going to explain it to the best of my knowledge of what they did, was that instead of you paying a levy tax on that and the roads are getting done, but you never see your road get done for the next 10 years because that money is just everybody's paying it, but hey, my road didn't come off it. They do this assessment now that they say, hey, we're going to do this, and the money that you're paying that you would have been paying anyway, just township, is going to be specifically for your roads and your neighborhood that you're doing it. It's actually, I think the assessment only comes to, I think what I heard from the trustees was only 25% of the project, of the cost of the project, of what the residents are being assessed for in that community. But yes, you are correct that all of the roads that are being done now, there is an assessment process with those residents that are getting those roads done. And I think they do a better job explaining it than I will, and I think than we will, because the formula that they have is very good. And I think at the end of the day, the community, the residents really understand it, because it's like, well, if I'm going to pay the money on my taxes, I want to see my road get done. I don't want to pay my money now and then 15 years from now, hey, my road's still not done. So Mike does a really good job of what you said, going out and evaluating all the roads and putting that together. And if you have any questions, please, he's very good at getting back with you. He'll be able to he's got that mapped out, and he'll be able to tell you exactly where he thinks that road project's going to be. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But yes, there's an assessment on every road that is being done in the township.
It also helps get the skip passed, because the skip grant is what the state gives. And if you are putting money into it, then they'll give you that grant before they give someone else that's not giving any money to the project. So.
We received more money than the city of Cincinnati in the last couple of years in the skip grants and that grant. Mike does a phenomenal job of making sure that he's putting those pieces of the puzzle together with the state. So he's done a great job with that.
I think the assessment is probably between $60 and $75 a year. But don't quote me on it, but I think that's what I've heard several times. Mike comes out and, as I said, he drives all the streets. Well, he drives the streets also with us. So we go through and, we'll call him and say, oh, we've got problems on Hazelhurst, and he'll come out, pick us up, and we'll ride through those streets with him, making notes. And when you look at what the roads are rated by the state, the streets that began with F in the farms, they were rated poor, and then last year, when we thought we would get the SCIP grant, or hoped we would get it, they rated us better than the year before. Made no sense. So, these things are changing all the time. But we'll ask Mike to send us something that we'll be able to put on our website, and we'll put on our Facebook page to explain, what's happening with the road renovations this year and going into next year.
That's good news. We're getting some road repairs done.
Right.
That's good news.
Right. So we'll move on to our business portion of the meeting. As I indicated before, our membership continues to go down in the farms. And I was looking through some of the past papers that presidents have had this afternoon. I was hunting for something about our pool, which I never found. But as I was going through, I thought, wow, they had 20 years ago, they had the same complaints or the same problems, that we're facing today. It's just that they've continued, and people just aren't, you know, going out and volunteering as much as they used to. When I first lived here, you know, we would have a 4th of July parade, and we would have floats, and it was spectacular. You know, now we have a 4th of July parade and the kids parade, you know, down the street by themselves, along with the police cars and the fire department. So we really need whatever help anybody could give us. We need somebody who could work on membership for us. We know that we are not good at doing that with our current board. But we have, you know, we have the projects like Mary was saying at the pool. We have all the plantings and that, and there's a number of people that live in the farms that have gone over and continued to weed in the pool area and at the front of the parking lot. And it just, you know, it just continues. It gets overgrown, and it's really a project. So, you know, whatever help we could get there. So, Ed, could you do our treasurers?
Sure. Beginning balance as of 2/28/23 was $2,067.10. We got $60 in for the month, 2 memberships. Paid out $28.58, bank charges, and then we had to do a corporate filing with the state to stay in good graces there, leaving a balance of $2,098.52. And then on the far right, for all the board members, I provided the 2023 budget, which I am making a motion that we approve.
All those in favor? Whoops, I got a bad knee. When I became president 6 years ago, we had probably around $7,000, maybe $8,000 for the association. Over that time, we've put money into the pool. We've done different things, and our money just continues to, you know, go down and down. So it's something that, you know, that we're fighting. We do our Luminera each year. I think this year we might have made about $900? About 800. Okay, so with the money that we've got left, you can see how significant that was. So it, you know, we do the Luminaire, you know, to create the beauty within the neighborhood, but it also is a good way for us to get a little bit of funding for the Civic Association. One of the big expenses that we have is insurance. We have to have insurance for the pool. We have to have, if we've got athletic programs going on, we have to have insurance for that. We have to have insurance for the board members in case we would be sued for whatever. We have 60-some acres of greenbelt area, and you know, we're every now and then called because of a tree coming down or whatever. So, you know, there's a lot of things that go into the monies or the little monies that we do have. You know, well, I guess enough said on that.
Well, basically, even when we aren't spending a lot of money on community activities and things like that, we do for next to nothing. I mean, we spend $100 or $150, just a couple $100 at most on an event to try to make them cost effective. But even if we do pretty much, if we don't spend any fund money, we still have expenses. So that's where, you know, joining the Civic Association, you know, kind of giving your $30 goes a long way just to helping us stay afloat and continue to be active and continue to, you know, reach out to the township and have these meetings and be a spot and a voice and a, you know, in a place where we can get the community together to provide a platform for these discussions. So, you know, so I encourage everyone to to join and get your neighbors to join that aren't here, and get involved in whatever capacity you can. Even if you're like, I don't think I could be like a full-blown officer, but like I could devote like an hour every other week to something. Okay, we'll take it.
Like newsletter?
Like you want to help write some newsletter, you got some teenagers that you want to kick out of the house and make them go hang things on doors, we'll take them. Even if you want to get involved but think you can't do enough for it to matter, well, that's okay. Just whatever you can give, if we all give a tiny bit, it ends up being a lot. Because, there's a handful of people that are doing things, and there's a lot more, I'm sure, that probably have just a little bit of time or skill, even if it's like a work from home thing, something you do at home, and then email us. There might be some little things like that. So I encourage you to think about getting involved. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about this neighborhood, is that, when it started, it had a very vibrant, active civic association, the whole community. I mean, you hear the stories and see the pictures about the whole community outside. Everyone knew everybody and was outside, and, that's what I grew up with in a different, by Cleveland, and, I'd like to see more of that here, and that's why I try to do, what I can to help facilitate that. But there's so much more that we could do with just a little bit more help. Don't think that you have to give your whole life. Just a little bit will go a long way to help us. So.
Mary mentioned what the seniors were doing at the pool.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, something as simple as, of course she left, but a couple of the residences here in the neighborhood at the swim club last year, they said, we could do a senior swim. So we had a, resident, two ladies in the farms who, we showed them how to basically open the pool so they could open it 2-3 days a week for like a quiet senior swim. And they would do their little water aerobics and play their little music that was different than the music we played when we were open. And, it kind of ran a little senior swim thing. And there's opportunities for things like that, to just do, if there's a passion you have or something you think that the community could benefit from, we'd love to, to see if we can connect. And especially as we got the partnership with John Wesley, that gives us, the ability to capitalize on the resources they have as far as space. So if you have an idea of something that might be a good fit for that partnership, like, oh, that gym would be a great event for this, I would like to help put it together. Let's do it. You want to run a book club? Let's do it. You pick the books, we'll figure out a way to make, so, the sky's the limit. We just need some people to help, so.
Do you have a question? You guys do? Okay.
When the pool does reopen, is it something to be considered? I don't know if this is a popular thing, but there are a lot of adults that don't know how to swim. And it's really hard. I've searched online, we're always booked up. It's like they have baby classes, but adult classes, they go like that. If that's something that the pool can consider.
Yeah, we have, so one of the challenges we faced last year was lifeguards in general, just getting lifeguards. But when we have had a lifeguard staff, they do offer lessons, and they're scheduled on kind of like a one-on-one private type thing. So that's definitely something that could be arranged, and we could definitely talk with the guards that we hopefully hire. Hopefully some of your teenage children will want to become our lifeguards. It's a great summer job, but that they would be able to do lessons. I mean, I know that I had a mom who learned to swim with her daughter at lessons a couple of years ago, because neither of them could swim. So the lifeguard taught both of them, the 6-year-old and the 35-year-old. So definitely, I think could be definitely done.
And then I think there was some discussion before around that kind of stuff and partnering with the Y. But again, if we don't have the members to join the pool, we don't have enough people, then that's, I think, where the issue can be. So the more people that join, the more likely we'll be able to partner with other entities to bring things like that to the farms. So, yeah.
I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old who live at the pool, so I'm going to do everything I can to keep the pool going for at least, the next 8 years? So, until they've aged out, and then hopefully someone will want to follow up behind me and take it from there. But, you know, we live in a beautiful place with, you know, to have a pool even. How many neighborhood pools are there left in the area? There aren't a lot.
Very few.
So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I can see why they closed. It's not easy to do. We don't get, other than like the grants and things that we've applied for, and you know, we have to pay still some money to get grants, like not like 100%. You know, we don't get the tax dollars otherwise. You know, we are purely, the membership fee pays for the chlorine, the water bill. I mean, imagine the water bill. Like, you think your water bill's high. Like, that pool holds like 100,000 gallons of water. You know, the electricity, the lifeguards, things like that. The snack bar pays for itself, obviously, with the revenue. But there's just a lot of flat fees that just go into running it, and we're purely membership driven. So trying to keep the membership prices low, because we want as many people as possible to be able to join, but in order to do that, we need, you know, when we reopen next year, we need the community to come with us. So, you know, I'm excited about what we're going to accomplish this summer. Again, won't be able to do it without the help of some volunteers, so please click your QR code, spread the word. You know, if you have a group or, you know, an organization you belong to that needs to put some volunteer hours or team building, you know, we'll come up with something to help facilitate
That's something that's changed over the years. We used to get a lot of students who, you know, they had to fulfill so many service hours. We're not seeing that anymore. And those are really important hours for development of the kids. You know, I can think back to, you know, the things that I did when I was a teen, and I didn't realize how significant it was in my life, but it really was. And so, you know, the more that we're getting, also, Mary's talking about, you know, the cost of things. I think the last water bill that I saw was around $3,000–3,500. You know, so it's a nice hit, you know, for a pool that's trying to support itself with our membership. So
we can do it. I mean, we run lean, but you know, there's a lot. Just need some memberships, and then this summer, it's just help us out, help us shine it up, so that your neighbors will feel happy to join. So we can be a little more proud of it. I mean, it was built in like 1969, right? It's not gonna look like Kings Island's water park. Like, it's not gonna look like that, no matter how much we do to it this summer. But we can make it look as good as it can. You know, so the water's great, has been, you know, but we can do a lot. Just need a few more hands to help, so that we can be, you know, open it up and people can come through and can see, you know, what I see when I look at it, which is the wonderful water and the awesome people, you know, hanging out around the side. We let you bring a cooler, just no glass. I mean, it's a great place to spend a Saturday, is lounging with a soda while your kids play.
yeah, while your kids play.
While your kids play.
We need to move on to
Yes.
elections.
Okay. One last thing that we need to do. Every year we have elections for our board. And so far we haven't had anyone asked to be on the board. Nobody has contacted us in the last few months. If there's anyone here who would like to join the board, you know, please raise your hand. And
Current open positions would be membership, community activities, and the memo.
right.
So
right.
there are 3 open positions. So if you're interested in doing them, and they can be done like like if husband, wife, or 2 best friends want to take them on, you know, like they could be a co-person.
Right.
Did anyone come today looking to sign up to be an officer?
So if not, Wendy and Bert share the secretarial role, and Ed is our treasurer, Monica is our vice president, Mary is our everything. She does community activities, she does really anything that is going on, she seems to have her fingers on, and I've been president. So for the people who are members of the association, you know, they can vote, and I'll ask for if the, you know, if we can accept the board as is. All those in favor, aye. Those opposed? And abstaining? Okay, the ayes carry. Well, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you.
We're here for individual questions.
Yeah, if you have
Yes.
questions, feel free to bug us.